Everyone, I'd like to call to order today's County Commission meeting of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners, Tuesday, January 24th. If you would please silence any cell phones or other devices, it would be greatly appreciated. This morning's invocation is going to be led by Pastor Charles Higgins Jr. from Westview Baptist Church. Welcome, Pastor. If you would all please rise.
Madam Chairman, I want to take just a moment of personal privilege and say that I moved to this community in May will be 20 years. And what I've learned is that Seminole County is a great place to live. And I want to thank you for your service to this county. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your blessing upon this place in which we live. Father, even in our humanity and in our faithlessness, you are faithful and you continue to bless us in spite of ourselves. And Lord, I thank you for these great servants that you have put in front of us. Lord, I pray that you would give them the wisdom that they need and the decisions that need to be decided upon today. And Lord, the business that has to be conducted here, I pray, Lord, that it will be done in love, in peace, and Lord, that they would seek your face in these decisions. Lord, we love you. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank you all so much for being here today. We have quite a few awards and proclamations that we'd like to present, and we're going to, just for a housekeeping matter, we're going to move the first award and or proclamation to our last award. So we're actually going to be starting with number 2, which is a resolution honoring retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Joseph Kittinger. And I believe Commissioner Constantine has that proclamation for us.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. And I just saw his family come in, and that's wonderful. If I could just say that this gentleman, we have honored him as our military man of the person of the month, but more than that, Colonel Kittinger was a true American hero, and as the newspaper said, he was a spaceman before we had spacemen. And, it was an honor and a privilege that he lived in our community and was so attached and loved it so much. I met him more than 40 years ago, actually, when I was walking door to door. And he walked up to the door, welcomed me in. When I was walking door to door for a campaign, and he welcomed first campaign, and he opened the door and welcomed me in and gave me a cool drink on a very hot day. And with that, we started becoming very good friends from that moment on. So it is my honor today, as a resolution of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners honoring retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Joseph W. Kittinger II, to move. Whereas, upon the death of the U.S. Air Force Colonel Joseph W. Kittinger II, the Seminole County community and our nation lost a true legend, American hero, and Hall of Fame aviator on December 9th, 2022. And whereas the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners wishes to acknowledge the contributions of Colonel Joseph W. Kittinger II, along with his service to the United States and Seminole County. And whereas Colonel Joseph W. Kittinger II was born in Florida in 1928, educated at a private high school focused on military discipline, went on to graduate from the University of Florida, and in March of 1949, he enlisted in the U.S. Air Force as an aviator cadet. Upon completion of his training in March of 1950, Colonel Kittinger received his pilot wings and was commissioned as a second lieutenant. And whereas Colonel Kittinger was assigned to the fighter test section, flying the F-84 Thunderjet and the F-86 Sabre. He was then transferred in 1954 to the Air Force Missile Development Center at Holloman Air Force Base, where he impressed Flight Surgeon Colonel John Stapp with his jet piloting skills, which led him to his participation in aerospace medical research. And whereas in 1960, Colonel Kittinger made 3 research stratospheric parachute jumps from 67,000, 67,500, and 102,800 feet, then achieving a record which stood for 52 years, and subsequently received the Harmon Trophy awarded by President Eisenhower. And whereas Colonel Kittinger completed 483.5 military missions over North Vietnam, and after serving 3 combat tours, Colonel Kittinger's plane was shot down at the end of his voluntary 3rd tour, which led him to spend 11 months as a prisoner of war. And whereas, after retiring in 1978, Colonel Kittinger stayed connected to aviation by barnstorming, skywriting, banner towing, and piloting hot air balloons around the world, winning the prestigious Gordon Bennett gas balloon race 4 times, and making the first solo gas balloon flight across the Atlantic Ocean, launching from Maine and landing in Italy 86 hours later. And whereas Colonel Kittinger's many military awards and decorations include 6 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 2 Silver Stars, 2 Legends of Merit, 3 Bronze Stars with Valor, 2 Purple Hearts, the Meritorious Service Medal, 24 Air Medals, and the Prisoner of War Medal. In 2008, Colonel Kittinger was awarded the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum Lifetime Achievement Award and was selected by the U.S. Park Service as one of the most famous aviators in the past 100 years. Now therefore be it resolved by the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners hereby honor the lifetime service of retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Joseph W. Kittinger for his distinguished contributions to our nation in Seminole County.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We'd like to invite Colonel Kittinger's family or any friends that are here to accept the proclamation. If you'll come forward, and we'll come down and take a picture with you.
I think it's his son, Mark, and his grandson, Mitch.
On behalf of my father, Mark, myself, and the Kittinger family, would like to thank Mr. Constantine for putting forth this proclamation, as well as for the entire Seminole County Commission for their support of both himself and the veterans in Central Florida. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next proclamation is proclaiming the month of February as Black History Month in Seminole County. And we have several gentlemen here from the Barbershop Conversation that are going to be accepting this resolution. I'd like to move the following proclamation of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming the month of February 2023 as Black History Month in Seminole County. Whereas Black History Month, or National African American History Month, was instituted in 1926 as Negro History Week by Dr. Carter G. Woodson of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas President Gerald R. Ford officially recognized Black History Month during the 1976 United States Bicentennial Celebration as a time of great national significance to honor the accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. And whereas America is a melting pot of cultures and ethnicities, all part of the land of the free. And whereas Black History Month fosters cultural awareness and understanding while encouraging education about contributions made by Americans of color. And whereas the celebration of Black History Month is a positive way to recognize and celebrate the culture and history of African Americans. And whereas the contributions of African Americans have been vital to the growth and development of Seminole County. And whereas Seminole County is proud to honor the contributions of African Americans in our county, state, and throughout our nation. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners hereby proclaims the month of February 2023 as Black History Month in Seminole County and encourages all residents to join in celebrating the importance of African Americans in our history. Adopted this 24th day of January 2023.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I'd like to invite, we've got Mr. Bentley, anyone else that's a part of the barbershop conversation, and then we'll explain after they accept the proclamation what the barbershop conversation is. Come on down.
I wouldn't even try today. Don't even try.
All set? With your two sets of photos, this will be the first set. All right, on my count, then 3, 2, 1. One more. Okay. Right, on my count, then 3, 2, 1.
We just want to say thank you to the Seminole County Commission. Okay.
Now that your voice can't fill the room.
We would like to say thank you to the Seminole County Commission. What we do with the Barbershop Podcast is to bring truth to the community. A lot of times when people talk, they say, well, I heard this and I heard that, and she say and they say. And the Barbershop Conversation is adamant about telling people that no birth certificate in America says she say, they say, and I heard that. When people tell you stuff like that, most of the time it's not true. Dr. Williams has a thing, she say misinformation. Mr. Bentley just said they're lying. We bring the truth to the Barbershop Podcast because we want people to know what's happening in Seminole County. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. And we're not rebel rousers, we just tell the truth. We have people to come on the Barbershop Podcast that are credible. Some of the commission has been on the Barbershop Podcast, and we'll have other commissioners to come on there. But the biggest thing, we want to be a conduit with you in the community to let people know what's going on. It's easy to say, well, I heard. Not what you heard. We're telling you what's going on. And another thing about the Barbershop Conversation, it's an array of things that we talk about. Even when COVID was going on, we were with you with COVID. We were telling people about the vaccines. We were bringing experts on from True Health and other agencies. We didn't just say, well, I heard this and I heard that. All we want to do is be a help to everybody in Seminole County. And we're going to continue to be a help in Seminole County. And as we take our seats, if you told us we were going to get something, we'd have got dressed up.
And if somebody wanted to watch the Barbershop Conversation podcast on Facebook, I believe it's on Monday nights at 7 o'clock, is that right? Yes. So Monday nights at 7, Facebook Live, the Barbershop Conversation. Mr. Zembauer?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say thank you to all those in the barbershop. It really is a camaraderie if you've ever had the opportunity to watch it, and really doing good things for the community outreach. And not only do they do that, but these individuals who are involved with this are also integrated in the community and doing other things. They're just not giving this information on the Facebook Live, but they actually are involved in the community and helping people, helping neighbors, helping those in need. So we can't forget that. So thank you all very much for all you do.
Thank you. Our next proclamation is proclaiming the week of February 15th as Food Checkout Week in Seminole County. And we have members of the Seminole County Farm Bureau here to accept that award.
Madam Chairman, thank you for allowing me to present this to the board. And as we all go to Publix or any other food store on a weekly basis, and we go to the checkout and we see the prices continuing to rise. In fact, we had a brief conversation up here before the meeting about a dozen eggs costing roughly $8. It really hits home that Food Checkout Week really affects us all. It's not just farm to table, it's feeding our country, our county, and our neighborhoods, and most importantly, our families. So with that, Madam Chair, this proclamation of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming the week of February 15, 2023 as Food Checkout Week in Seminole County, Florida. Whereas it is important that Americans have access to healthy foods containing adequate vitamins, minerals, fiber, and other nutrients. And whereas achieving better nutrients with fewer resources remain a shared concern of our citizens. And whereas this concern can be addressed through consumer education about wise shopping strategies, and whereas Florida farmers and ranchers are unmatched in their abilities to consistently produce the abundance of safe, nutritious, and affordable foods, and whereas Florida farmers face significant uncertainties, including inclement weather, damaging insects, and other challenges on a daily basis. And whereas Seminole County farmers, ranchers, and others in the agricultural industry work together in environmental sustainability ways to help feed people here in Seminole County, our state, and our nation, and other countries around the world. Now, therefore, we proclaim that Seminole County Board of County Commissioners here proclaim the week of February 15, 2023 as Food Checkout Week in Seminole County, adopted this 24th day of January, 2023.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Commissioners, would you join me downstairs? Would the people from the Farm Bureau come down, please?
Or anyone else who's here to accept the...
Yeah. And our farmers, some of our farmers and ranchers are here.
I'm Erin Vermillion, President of the Seminole County Farm Bureau Board of Directors. On behalf of our board, I'd like to thank the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners for partnering with us for the second consecutive year to declare the third week of February as Food Checkout Week. Food Checkout Week is a time to celebrate a safe, abundant, and affordable food supply in the United States. The average American household spends approximately 10% of their disposable income on food. Seminole County Farm Bureau's mission is to be a strong voice for agriculture in Seminole County by serving as a liaison between consumers and our farmers and ranchers, while also strengthening our membership through education and outreach. Seminole County Farm Bureau has multiple offices that serve over 1,870 member families. We are affiliated with the Florida Farm Bureau Federation, the state's largest general interest agriculture organization, representing more than 134,000 member families. Last year, members of Seminole County Farm Bureau celebrated Food Checkout Week by donating more than 300 pounds of fresh produce to Hope Helps, a food pantry in Oviedo, Florida. We also presented them with a monetary donation in addition to the vegetables. Hope's mission is to prevent and reduce homelessness in Central Florida by equipping individuals and families to become self-sufficient through housing, outreach, prevention, and education. And our plan for this year is to do something similar with Hope Helps. So once again, we appreciate you partnering with us to declare the week of February 15th Food Checkout Week.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yep.
Thank you all for being here, and I want to point out that, you know, as it's interesting, as I have now grandchildren and so forth, and this new generation doesn't quite understand where food comes from. They think it does come from Publix. Agricultural land is disappearing at an unprecedented rate across this country. And a lot of things were said in the proclamation, but this is also a matter of national security. As more land disappears across this nation, either into development or into conservation, we must, and many of you here on the dais have heard me speak about, you know, when this county considers taking something into conservation, we need to be considering not omitting the possibility and capability for security reasons that we also include that land for farming, whether it be agricultural crops, it's citrus, whether it be row crops and so forth. There's going to come a day where we will not be growing enough food in this country to sustain our population. We're already buying stuff from, you know, other countries for many reasons. Government oversight, overreach with requirements, EPA requirements, and just the general cost of taxation on the lands of those folks that are farming. So I think we need to be very cognizant moving forward what we do with, you know, natural lands and any conservation lands that we bring in. So again, thank you all very much for being here.
Wonderful. Our next proclamation is proclaiming the month of January as Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month in Seminole County. I believe that's
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's with great pleasure, especially as a grandfather and father, to read this in. And some of the stories that many of us have heard, they're most unfortunate, in our sheriff's office deals with these kind of situations on a regular basis. And if not for the private sector and those folks giving of their time here in Seminole County, we'd be in a lot worse position than we are. So it's my pleasure on this proclamation of Seminole County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming the month of January 2023 as Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month in Seminole County, Florida. Whereas human trafficking is a public health and civil rights crisis with victims and survivors in every city and community. Whereas human trafficking includes both labor and sex trafficking, is a significant problem both foreign and domestic, includes victims from all demographics, target individuals who are vulnerable for any variety of reasons. Whereas sex trafficking is difficult to quantify due to the hidden nature of the crime, challenges in identifying victims and tendency of victims to report, and whereas the International Labor Organization estimates there are 24.9 million victims of human trafficking globally, which includes 6 million children victims. It is also estimated that forced labor and human trafficking is a $150 billion industry worldwide, and Florida is the third largest hub for human trafficking in this country. Whereas in January 2023, our community came together to shed light on the threat of human trafficking, encourage the United Abolitionists, Paving the Way Foundation, One More Child, Love Missions, and the Central Florida Human Trafficking Task Force to join forces towards combating modern-day slavery and human trafficking. Whereas for the past 15 years, tens of thousands of Central Floridians have been educated and moved to take action to stop this horrific crime, and for over a decade, survivors have been empowered through restorative and healing programming. Whereas on January 21, 2023, the Central Florida Human Trafficking Task Force hosted the Red Sand event in Seminole County to highlight Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month to share information and strategies in an effort to combat human trafficking in our community. Now therefore be proclaimed that Seminole County Board of County Commissioners hereby proclaims the month of January 2023 as Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month in Seminole County, adopted as 24th day of January 2023.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I think Jan Edwards is here from Paving Way Foundation and all those other fine folks to accept this proclamation. Please join us.
Second one, in 3, 2, 1. And one more. On the count, in 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, and thank you so much for your participation in this. As the proclamation stated, Florida ranks 3rd in the country. Orange County ranks 2nd in the state for child trafficking cases. Yeah, and the average age of recruitment is 10 to 13 years old. So the more we talk about this, the more we shed a light in the darkness, that will make a difference, not only for our children, but our families and our state. My name's Jan Edwards, and I'm the president of Paving the Way Foundation, and we're on the front side of this. We do prevention education specifically for young people. We target really middle school, Title I middle school, and kind of work our way out. We partner as one of the co-chairs for the Central Florida Human Trafficking Task Force, right? We partner very closely with organizations around Central Florida to ensure we go from beginning to end and all the way through to restoration. And one of my fellow co-chairs, Michaela Klein from One More Child, is here, and I'm going to have her share a little bit about what they do as well. We partner very closely together because when we go into schools and we educate kids, we have children come forward and say, "That's me. She's my second phone call." So our kids are taken care of. Great.
Thank you, Jan. So like she said, I am Michaela Klein. I am our Director of Anti-Trafficking at One More Child. Our anti-trafficking is just one piece of the puzzle that we do. Last year, we were able to serve more than 300,000 children and families and serve more than 18 million meals, both locally and globally. Our anti-trafficking efforts don't just stem from Seminole County. We're able to serve in 21 counties within the state of Florida. We're able to provide that counseling, advocacy, and mentoring for our young children and adults of sexual exploitation. It is a long process and it's a long road to recovery, and we are just blessed to be able to provide those Christ-centered services as we work through this restoration process with each and every one of our survivors. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. We appreciate you and the work that you do. Our last proclamation this morning is honoring our Veteran of the Month, and it's being presented by Commissioner Herr.
Thank you, Chairman. I am honored to read this proclamation, and I'll start by saying that this is a team effort between our Veterans Organization and the Veteran of the Month. And this, what I'm about to read to you, is a very humble representation of Mr. Marino. There are a lot of details left out of here, and I won't embellish it because I have to read it for the record, Mr. Marino. But just to say, I came to know Jerry when we served on the board for the Foundation for Seminole County Public Schools. We were probably two of the original dinosaurs that brought that organization to life. And he and I always worked on an annual event called Arts Alive. And if there were people that were going to schlep boxes and push tables and move chairs and set tables and do whatever it was that somebody else wasn't doing, Jerry was the first one there, and usually recruiting me because he knew I was a sucker for his request. So that is our history. We go back a long number of years, and it is with that background that I read the following proclamation of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners recognizing United States Marine Corps Master Sergeant Jerry Marino for his outstanding service to the United States and Seminole County. Whereas the brave men and women of our Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Space Force demonstrate a resolute spirit and unmatched selflessness, reminding us there are few things more American than giving of ourselves to make a difference in the lives of others. And whereas throughout our country's history, generations of service members have answered the call to leave their families, their jobs, and put their futures and even their lives on the line to valiantly defend our nation. And whereas for many service members, the sacrifice has ended in permanent injury or death, yet their spirit remains in the continued preservation of our freedoms and the promise of liberty. And whereas there are more than 30,000 living veterans in Seminole County who served our nation in times of peace and war, by their service they kept America strong. And whereas Master Sergeant Jerry Marino enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1975 and rose through the ranks to Master Sergeant while in the Marine Corps Reserves. He officially retired in April of 1999, culminating nearly 24 years of active and reserve military service. And whereas Master Sergeant Jerry Marino served as a truck driver and administration officer in the JAG Corps at the Pentagon during the Gulf War era. The highlight of his career was serving in the JAG Corps Reserve Center in Orlando, Florida. He earned various awards, including Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, 2 awards, and the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, 2 awards. And whereas Master Sergeant Jerry Marino retired from the Marine Corps, but simultaneously worked as a Seminole County high school teacher, a Valencia College adjunct professor, and a telecommunications entrepreneur from 1978 to 2002. He then opened his own business, Jet Home Remodeling and Consulting, which is still in operation today, folks, in Winter Springs, Florida. And whereas Master Sergeant Jerry Marino has brought great credit and distinction upon himself, the United States of America, the United States Marine Corps, and Seminole County. Now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the Board of County Commissioners of Seminole County, Florida, express our gratitude, admiration, and respect for Master Sergeant Jerry Marino for his outstanding service to the United States Marine Corps and residents of Seminole County. Be it further proclaimed that this proclamation be presented to Master Sergeant Jerry Marino, along with our sincere congratulations and recognition as Seminole County's Veteran of the Month, adopted this 24th day of January 2023.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
And I see the Mayor of Oviedo, Megan Sladek, standing in the back here to congratulate Jerry. So if you'd join us, Mayor Megan, that would be great.
Get to see you twice in 2 days. Congratulations. Okay, we're gonna just put it right here. All right, all set, on my count. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you, Seminole County Board of Commissioners and Madam Chairman, for this honor. You know, it's kind of funny, I reflect back 48 years ago. 48 years ago this year, I went into the Marine Corps Reserves and stepped on the famous yellow steps. And I was able to accomplish what a lot of Marines don't accomplish at first, and getting through the boot camp in one even sweep. A lot of people get recycled and everything. I was able to finish my career with as a master sergeant, and as you read, I had a lot of great tours in the civilian world, plus in the military, and got to see a lot of neat places. One of the things I want to bring home, and I stress this, most of my time was in the reserve system, okay? And a lot of people don't understand the reserve system, but the reserve system in the Marine Corps is a very vital avenue for combat readiness and so forth. And I impress upon when I see young lads and young ladies come in, and I say to them, "Are you staying in?" And they say, "Well, I'm not sure." And I say, "Well, you want to consider it, you know? 20 years is not a long time, and the benefits outweigh the sweat and tears and so forth that you might do during a period of time." Well, I spent 24 years in. I've been retired for 24 years, so that makes 48 years. And by golly, I can't thank the USA government immensely all the time, because without them, with all my opportunities in life, let's put it that way, I have been blessed with the benefits of TRICARE and blessed with a small stipend, we'll call that. How's that sound? But it's been a real pleasure, and I really honor the Corps. And a lot of people say, "Well, did you join because of the uniform?" Because the uniform, the dress blues are really popular. And I said, no, I had several cousins that were in there. But anyway, thank you, and Semper Fi for all the future and present and past Marines.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Our next item is County Investment Advisor Report from Scott McIntyre with Hilltop Securities. I think he's joining us.
He's here.
Oh, he is here. Oh, Scott. So sometimes we do remote, and sometimes we do in person, so it's great to see you in person.
Good to be here. Sorry I'm starting.
And from the great state of Texas.
From Austin, Texas. Thank you all for being so hospitable. Okay, of course, the market, the latest thing is going to be the debt ceiling crisis, which frankly I should have anticipated. It wouldn't have affected strategy, but somehow in my Pollyanna mind, I thought that they would never get to the point where they would have any type of discussion over whether or not they were going to decide to pay their bills. But that is not going to come to a head until probably late July. And one of the things that we've done is we've switched over from a lot of Treasury purchases to a lot of agency purchases. My thought on that is that if there is a default, which is still very, very unlikely, that default will be just for a matter of days, because I think the political pressure will be so intense in terms of making payments on Social Security or veterans payments or payments on bonds themselves. So the exposure that the county could potentially have is if on the exact date that there was a default, if you had a Treasury maturing, money would not be in account. The thought would be that it would be within a day or two. It certainly doesn't get lost. Trying to decide exactly when that day may be is a fool's errand, so we're not going to do that. We're going to assume that the U.S. is going to pay its debts, maybe not on the exact day, but certainly a day or two later. So the events that are driving inflation is decelerating at an increasing rate. There's still inflation, but it's not nearly as quick a pace as it was. And the economy has taken note of that. And the markets have taken note of that, and the Fed has taken note of that. U.S. economy is holding up better than a lot of economists had thought that it would, but there's a 65% chance, according to the last Bloomberg survey, of a recession next year, according to 70 U.S. economists. So it's likely around the corner. It's also likely to be mild. Fed officials have indicated that future rate hikes are going to be in smaller increments. There's a Fed meeting next week. On Wednesday, they'll make another announcement. The bond market is signaling 25 basis point hike on that date, and then another 25 on March 22nd. Fed officials push back a little bit on that. They don't want the market to be ahead of them, so Fed officials have indicated they intend to raise the overnight rate above 5% and hold it there until inflation is squashed. Going back to inflation, I will tell you that the last 3 months, annualized, the inflation rate is 1.8%. So it really is slowing down quite a bit. PPI was actually negative last month, so negative 0.5. So it's happening in a lot of different areas, wholesale prices, consumer prices. We're certainly moving in the right direction. So that pivot is somewhere out there, likely later this year. I already mentioned the debt ceiling. I'm not going to get into that anymore. So the current investment choices, and what I want you to focus on Treasuries is the 24-month and 36-month compared to the other last two meetings. You can see that market yields are moving downward on the longer end, and that's the longer end of the market, expecting that the Fed is nearing completion. So what we've tried to do is extend maturities now. Now we're near the highs. We have actually been extending since November and December. Made some purchases in early January, I think, that were well-timed. What we want to do is lock up what we can out on the curve so that next year and the year after that, you still have enhanced earnings. The pool rates have moved up, and of course that reflects the overnight rates, and there is still a lot of money in pools and banks right now. So what we're ultimately trying to do is strike a balance between putting some fixed yields in place for later and taking advantage of the short end, which we still expect is going to move up, at least for the next several months. So the recent investments, you can sort of look at what I've got scratched out is what we thought they would come at. So we were able to invest. The market was cooperating with us. We were able to invest at a little bit higher yields than we thought that we would, which is always a plus. We had a maturity in Palm that matured. That was also invested at a higher yield than we thought. We also stepped in early January when the market backed up for reasons that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Took some of the property tax money or tax monies that were coming in the door and invested those in an average of about 492 out on the curve, which I thought was very good timing. The clerk's office was very much on top of that. That was still leaves a lot of cash, but we were able to come in when yields were higher. They've since retreated. I sort of wish we would have gotten more done at those levels. That's an average of about 492, 493, and mostly out further on the curve. So upcoming maturities, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of them in February. There are a lot of them in March and April as well, which is good because some of those lower yields are coming off. Without exception, they're going to be replaced at significantly higher yields, which will result in more earnings. I will tell you, I look back on December of last year, and the county was earning 38 basis points on its portfolio, and I'll show you what it was actually earning as of December of this year. But it's very, very nice in terms of real earnings that can be used for real spending. So, recommended purchases. We may wind up like we did at the tail end of, or in the spring and summer of last year, just sort of rolling some of the maturities, but for right now, you still have some tax money. The thought is that we want to go out a little bit further. We don't want to go out too far because we don't want to have too much market exposure, but on the other hand, you want to lock in some in the event that the Fed starts to cut later this year. So my recommendation is 3 blocks of 20, and those will be in agency securities, and we'll basically target the tail end of next year. And I think that mostly covers it all. Before I ask for a motion, I'm going to just step over here and show you that as of December 31st, the portfolio was yielding 327. With the purchases and the purchases we're recommending, I believe that at the end of this month, we'll be at 343-ish. And I went out and looked at February with those maturities coming off, and my expectation is at the end of February, we'll be looking at about 370. So it is moving up. Obviously, it's not moving up with the Fed and those enormous chunks, but it is moving up. The mix of floating rate and fixed rate, when we get to February, we'll have about 80% locked up in fixed rate securities and about 20% will be floating. Still, you've got a lot of securities that are maturing over the course of the next 90 days, and we'll address those when we get to that point. But I'll also show you this. This is your benchmark comparison. We don't use total return, we use real yields, so it's weighted average yield. We feel like that is more indicative of what you're actually earning. The red dot is Seminole County. Some of those other dots are going to very quickly move closer to where Seminole County is. And I think February, again, it should be a pretty good month. And then we back up a little bit here. So the motion that we're going to ask for the clerk's office to implement is actually going to be for the 3 purchases that are going out into the fall and winter of 2024. And I believe they'll be in federal agencies, not treasuries. And so we need to get approval from you.
Commissioner Delory.
Thank you, Madam
Commissioner
Chair.
Sembauer.
Motion to implement the recommendations of our financial advisor based on the report submitted today and recommend the clerk to implement said board recommendations.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion? Mr. Malloy, have any input?
We're always looking for the best deal and act upon it.
All right. If there isn't any further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good to see it.
As we move to public participation related to the consent agenda, I'd just like to read the board's civility statement. In accordance with the operating policies and procedures of Seminole County Board of County Commissioners, Section 2.175, public participation before the board, comments shall be limited to the subject being considered by the board. All public comments shall avoid personal attacks, abusive language, and redundancy. Disrespectful, rude, irrelevant, or slanderous remarks or disruptive behavior may subject the individual to removal from the board chambers. The chairman may curtail repetitious comments. Do we have anyone here to comment on the consent agenda? Any forms turned in yet? Nope. All right. Anyone need to turn in a form? All right. County Manager, do we have any modifications to the consent agenda?
Yes, please. We are removing item 11.
Okay. All right. Board members, any motions?
Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve items 6 through 10, 12 through 16, and 17.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second discussion?
I see, yes, I see a consent agenda item deletion number 11.
That's what she
Yes.
said.
I said
But it
that.
just said 9.
No, she said 11.
You said
I
11?
said
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that I
Yep.
heard it correctly. Thank you.
All right. With that clarification, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving to our regular agenda. Mr. Jex or Ms. Bailey Brown, I'm not sure who is going to be presenting item 18.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Item 18 is our annual carry forward VAR. It's a budget amendment that takes available balances from approved projects in fiscal year '22 and rebudgets them in fiscal year '23. There's a one-page summary of this VAR on page 336 of your agenda, and a list of every project being carried forward started on page 338. These are the 6 types of budgets that are eligible for project carry forward. It's the county's policy to fully fund the cost of these projects based on the completion of a scope which may cross fiscal years. In fiscal '22, we had 892 approved active projects, of which 218 were completed and 674 are being carried forward. It's important to mention that there's $291 million of restricted fund balance at the end of fiscal year '22 that is also being carried forward to support these projects. The total amount of the BAR is $389 million. 10.6 of that is going into reserves. 91.4 million is dedicated to grants, and 287 million is dedicated to our project carry forward. Our grant carry forward of $91.4 million is supported by 120 executed funding agreements. The largest is $55 million for the American Rescue Plan Act. We have $19 million for community services grants and $6 million for fire department grants. Also in the fire department, we have $28 million carry forward for capital. That includes $7 million for Fire Station 39, $6 million for Fire Station 25 in Castleberry, and $11 million for fire engines, rescues, a tower, and other light fleet. The fiscal '22 budget included $205 million in active infrastructure sales tax projects. $57 million was expended last year, and $147 million is being carried forward across 167 active projects. Our environmental services CIP includes almost $60 million for water, sewer, utility projects, and almost $10 million for solid waste projects. It covers a total of 136 projects, including CIP, fleet, and equipment. And finally, we have a total of $42 million being carried forward across the remaining county projects. And this slide shows a list of the different projects that are being carried forward. That concludes my presentation. Staff's here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Zembauer.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this backup material. And I think we spoke about this previously in the last couple of years. Is it possible in this report with the carry forward, I think it would be helpful to the commission, to give us a timeline of how many years a particular project has been moving forward?
Absolutely.
Is that something that's easily done, or?
It is fairly easily done. I apologize for not including it, and we can get that distributed today.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Is there a motion to approve item 18?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Jex.
Thank you all for your hard work. Thank you.
County Manager, legislative update, our priorities. Ms. Johnson.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Tricia Johnson, Deputy County Manager. Just following up on our discussion from the January 10th board meeting related to legislative priorities. I have provided a memo with the drafted priorities based on your feedback from that meeting and follow-up conversations. I haven't made a lot of changes, so I'm not going to go through each in detail. I will say that the priority related to the clerk of the court fines and fees. I do have one minor change to that. I will remove the language related to the amount and focus on supporting efforts that change the distribution of fines, fees, and court costs related to feedback that we received from Clerk Malloy. The remaining information I do want to ensure you're aware of, the septic to sewer conversion pilot project. We have applied for 2 FDEP grants as of late last summer. One about $1 million and one $10,250,000 for these pilot programs. So the money that we would apply for through the appropriations project would then supplement those funds. We have not been awarded them yet. We hope to be, but at this point, they're still grants that we've applied for. I also wanted to follow up on the request from the last meeting related to Orange County's septic to sewer grant program. That was a $41 million grant that FDEP provided Orange County over several years, so they will receive estimated amounts annually. However, Their program was a solidly established program before FDP awarded them that money. They have an ordinance in place, they have county matching funds to support the residents to connect to their system. It's certainly something we as a county can pursue, and I will tell you, having reviewed the documentation related to the FDEP grants, these are exciting programs, what our team is trying to do. I had a lot of fun writing the appropriations request for them. So I think it is something that we could pursue, a similar program, but once we show skin in the game, then FDP is more likely to award us those large grants. But at the moment, we have to apply for the smaller ones as we are setting up our own pilot program. The Midway stormwater improvements, I know you're familiar with, related to our construction costs for the Midway stormwater project and Lake Jessup water quality improvements. This was a specific request from Senator Broder's office. He does very much want to champion efforts toward Lake Jessup, so he asked us to put in a request so that he can be further educated on the needs of Lake Jessup and pursue larger funding amounts. So that's kind of the process on that side. So we will be submitting these requests on the House side today as soon as I receive your approval, and then on the Senate side a little later this month. That's pretty much my report for you. So are there any questions that I can address or follow up on?
The only thing I would say is get you a deputy county manager who thinks writing grant requests for septic to sewer is fun.
It's an exciting program. Trust me, it was not high on my priority list, but once I started to read about it, it's really neat what they're trying to accomplish.
Yes, Commissioner Constantine.
Thank you very much. I've had the opportunity this past week to be in Tallahassee and had a meeting with Speaker Renner concerning various issues that not only are related to the Florida Association of Counties, but also to our own priorities. And I just wanted to relay to you that it is his intent to allow the Senate to lead the affordable housing scenario legislation, while he intends to lead on water quality quantity programs. So that's not only a bit of news, but also good news, because in the past, the House has not spent a whole lot of time on water or water projects. So with that, I am very excited also about this, not only the septic to sewer, but an entire holistic water policy. What will he indicated that he would like to see two big things happen. And the suggestion was, well, put together a holistic 5-year plan and ensure that, we are going after the pollutants when we do it, because that is the main problem when it comes to water quality as well as water quantity, is the pollutants going into our waterways. So he was very receptive. And many of you know Henry Dean of St. Johns County, but also former executive director of the water management districts for St. Johns as well as the South Florida. He accompanied me. Asked him to come with me, and so I think it was a very productive, on behalf of both Florida Association Counties and ourselves, because most of our projects, as we all know, are water projects.
Commissioner Delary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would also like to echo your statement about Ms. Johnson and her excitement in going from septic to sewer. I find it intriguing. I find it's the right thing to do, but it's nice to see someone that's not really that involved in it starting to get excited about it. And as Commissioner Constantine said, we do need to put a holistic program together, just like Orange County did. We do need to take lead on this. We do need to have skin in the game. It's very clear that when you talk about water quality, the springs, all of the springs, it's truly the canary in the mine shaft. Yep. And if you take care of the pollutants going in, you actually solve your water problem. And as Commissioner Constantine was talking about it, and I know we're all on board with this, we just need to have a holistic plan to show the people that do have the deep pockets that we are serious about this and that we can get in front of this. And I'm excited that our deputy county manager is just as excited to write these grants, because there's going to be a lot more we're going to need. So I'm glad that you're excited about it.
Commissioner Herr.
Given all the excitement, I'm excited to move that we approve this exciting legislative priority list so that our excited deputy county manager can move it forward.
But there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much, Ms. Johnson. Is there a report from the county manager's office?
Yes, ma'am, I have a report this morning. I have two items. The first being, we thought it was time to give you some general estimates of what the hurricane has cost. So the total to date is estimated for Hurricane Ian, $38.7 million. And the breakdown is as follows. Damages was $17.5 million, debris, $7.6 million, emergency response, $3.6 million, and we're estimating that we'll recover $28 million of the $38.7 million. Hurricane Nicole is only estimated costing us $1 million at this point.
Any questions?
If you need further information, Lori Bailey Brown and Resource Management will be happy to meet with you and give you some more detailed information.
Great, thank you.
And the second item, I think we get this annually, and I can pass this down. We received a request from the State of Florida Medical Examiners Commission seeking a recommendation to reappoint Dr. Barbara Wolf as the District 24 Medical Examiner. Commissioner Zimbauer sits on the District 5 and 24 Medical Examiner Advisory Committee, so he may be able to provide some feedback. This is the gubernatorial appointment for Dr. Wolf will expire on July 1st of this year, and so we'll need to get this form in by February 24th. It's a very simple form, and I'd just like to see if you could maybe give feedback, Commissioner Zimbauer, and then
Sure.
have the chair, will sign it and send it in.
Absolutely. I would be in support of reappointment. The ME's office, as we share through the multiple districts and counties, I will tell you, is, in my opinion, underfunded. And she has done remarkably well, working with little to nothing. She really has. I mean, it truly is amazing to me. In fact, I forwarded to Ms. Johnson, hopefully you got the email. Marion County has decided not to be on point for the request for the grant money that would help build a new facility for the ME's office. Currently, it's being rented and supplied by Lake County. Marion County's running the overall daily operations of the ME's office as far as we're concerned at the county level, and supplying those individuals to facilitate the meetings, keep the minutes, do the accounting, et cetera, et cetera. But there's going to come a time in the near future, as these counties continue to grow, we've got to do something with those facilities, and she's done a fabulous job, and just magic in reorganizing the space she has. But it's getting to the point where there's going to come a time we've got to make a move. So that's why I forwarded that to you, Ms. Johnson, so that we would keep it on our radar and talk with our other partners moving forward. But I would recommend that we support her reappointment.
Second.
That was a motion.
Motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to support the gubernatorial reappointment of the medical examiner. All right, great, thank you. Are you going to vote? I mean, it should be consensus, but
Yes.
whatever. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Let Madam Chair execute that.
Anything else from the county manager?
Thank you. No, thank you.
All right, county attorney.
No report at this time.
Okay. Commissioner report, District 3, Commissioner Constantine.
Well, thank you very much. Leading off, you never want to step on anybody else's toes that might want to say something in their district, so I'm going to go down the list in just a few things. First, the National Association of Counties had a meeting up in Washington with the presidents 2 weeks ago and the executive directors. I did want to report that it was phenomenal. They had a leadership program at Mount Vernon, and being able to address the other presidents at the home of George Washington was quite an honor. So I just wanted you all to know that it was a great meeting. Tomorrow, there is a webinar on Project Opioid statewide at 10 a.m. If anybody does not have the details, I'd be happy to share them with you. We all understand how important that issue is. Also tomorrow at 2 o'clock, there is a Wekiva Wild and Scenic River System meeting. This is not the Wekiva Basin Commission meeting. This is the federal Scenic River Management, and is chaired by one of our constituents here in Seminole County. Thursday and Friday, specifically late Thursday and all day Friday, there is the Florida Association of Counties Broadband Summit up in St. Johns County. I don't know, are you still attending, Melanie?
I will not be, but James will be. I'm going to
Okay.
be doing
All
county
right.
manager stuff.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is something, there's a lot of national speakers there, and also some state officials that will be there, including representatives and senators, and it's hopefully will help shape the policy of the state of Florida to help counties and cities ensure that we get broadband throughout the state. And, you know, as we know, because we did a study, it's not just the rural counties. There are urban and suburban counties like ourselves that have a lot of ghost areas of broadband that we need to ensure that have service. So this is something that we're trying to look at, another long-term policy for all the cities and counties, so that we can really ensure that the state of Florida gets not only its fair share, but gets the money to the right places. And with that, I will leave it to the others to talk about other things.
Commissioner Herr, District 5.
Yes, thank you. Very brief report this time. I just wanted to say job well done to our chairman for hosting the Diamond Awards on the 19th. Several very interesting awards. It was a good learning experience. I have more information about it. If you all would like to share it, I'll pass it down the dais. But you did a really good job representing Seminole very nicely. There you go. And that's it.
All right. District 1, Commissioner DeLaurie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have some appointments and some reappointments. Be one motion to appoint Christine Trevitt to the Library Advisory Board, fulfilling a vacancy rotating starting in January 2023. Reappointment Desta Horn for the Historical Commission for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2024. Appoint Chris Stevens to the Park and Preservation Committee for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2024, and sending a resolution of appreciation to Bryce Gibson for his service on the Park Preservation Committee. That's my motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. I've been approached by several residents that live in and around Morning Dew Loop. May I pass this down? And I've also emailed this to you all this morning, not looking for a decision, but they live in an area that the future land use is commercial. They're all in A1. They're really requesting the land use to be LDR with the zoning R1. I have spoken to Rebecca Hammock about this, and she has done a preliminary review. Again, I'm not asking for a decision today, but I'd like to ask the board to review this at a later date and be briefed by staff, and to take it into account, to ask our staff to do administrative reuse, and ask the board to direct the county manager at a future agenda item for the planning division to proceed with administrative future land use change and the rezoning of the subject property. I do know that we all need to review this, but I'd like to put this on the agenda at a future date. I'll be filling out the proper paperwork, but I want you all to now see it now, before I
Commissioner-
send out the paperwork.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
all.
Commissioner Zembauer.
I just have a question on this. I want to make sure I'm following and understanding. The diagram that you've shown us here, here, are you indicating that every parcel owner is requesting to be removed from commercial?
That's what I've been alleged to have been told.
Okay.
I've not spoken to everyone, but the people that were representing them told me that.
Okay. And the reasoning behind it?
Reason behind it is because what they're concerned about is their future land use is commercial, and they think it's appropriate to be LDR, land low-density residential, and these are all antiquated plats. It was done many years ago in 1957, and that's when it was vested, and they believe that it should be reviewed and discussed by the board, and they're asking for the board to do LDR, which is a zoning of R1. So before I do the paperwork, I wanted to make sure everyone's aware of it, that's all.
Commissioner Constantine.
So my understanding, Commissioner, is that they're just being proactive.
That's correct.
They see a problem in the future, and before it comes before them, they would like us to take a hard look at it and bring it back. And if that was a motion.
No, I'm going to I'm going to do the
Okay.
paperwork.
No, not to change it, but I mean a motion to put it on a future agenda.
I believe I need to do paperwork. to
Okay,
do that.
all right, but
I would be remiss not to do the paperwork, but I thought it'd be advantageous and proactive to let you know what I'm doing, so when you do see the paperwork, it's not out of left field. That's all.
Commissioner Herr.
I appreciate you doing it and doing the paperwork, and I would also just make sure that when we bring it back, just a heads up for staff, that what we're looking at here is a very condensed view of the universe. We need to understand the impact to all of the surrounding areas as well, which I think they would do anyway, but I'm just trying to add that to the mix so that it can be one and done when it does come back.
Correct. A lot of times we get a lot of emails, and I just want to make sure that everyone knows what's coming up. That's all.
So I have a process question for the county attorney and county manager's office. When we have things that are antiquated or that we find to be out of whack because we know that those things happen, is it the usual, is it your expectation that a county commissioner would bring that forward, or do the citizens bring it forward through whatever process is in the planning department? I just want to make sure, because I know we have had, I actually have something in my district where the citizen is being asked to vacate when it's something that's the county's. And so if it's something that I need to bring forward as the district commissioner to put it on the agenda to do things on behalf of the citizens as opposed to them initiating the item, I just need to know where that line is.
Let me explain it like this. We'll take the vacation issue in a second. But as far as the rezoning matter, rezonings can come in from the citizens, and they go through the normal zoning process to the P&Z and then to the Board of County Commissioners for final decision. Or what's being asked here is for an administrative rezone, which the individual property owners are not the applicant, but the county is taking on the responsibility of becoming the applicant. It still has to go through the same process. It still goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a recommendation and then to this board for final action. So that is what the request is. And again, in this particular situation, the citizens have reached out to the district commissioner. The district commissioner, in the totality of the situation, sees that it looks like a pocket of commercial in an otherwise sea of residential around it. So it has some merits of cleaning up the map administratively for the county. But again, not to prejudge, it still has to come to you with all the appropriate review and recommendations.
Okay. Ms. Hammack, do you want to add anything to that?
And I will do the paperwork.
We got that. We got the paperwork's coming. It's coming. That's great.
Good morning. For the record, Rebecca Hammack, Development Services Director. I think Paul covered it. I just wanted to clarify that it could be a privately initiated comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning. However, property owners within this subdivision came to Commissioner Jalari and asked that he bring it forward to the commission to see if you would consider requesting that staff bring it to you administratively. This was a residential subdivision that was adjacent to an apartment complex that came before you within the last few years. And as Paul did say, is an antiquated subdivision. They have commercial future land use, but because it was a vested subdivision, it developed, the pattern of development is single-family residential, and they all own multiple lots. The majority of the property owners have stated that they would like to change the future land use and rezoning to be compatible with what's actually developed. There was a few property owners that are absentee owners that have not been able to be contacted.
Okay, all right, thank you. I remember that drama well. Yeah, all right, I appreciate it. Anything else, Commissioner Zembauer?
Just a question, and I know this may be a little ahead of the game, but I might as well just go ahead and ask it since we're having the dialogue. If one property owner says, I don't want that, what happens? We still can make that decision, correct?
That is correct.
And we don't get into any legal issue of removing entitlements that they perhaps expected and currently have?
Not any more than you do on any given Tuesday.
Okay, great. Good answer, legal counsel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next item I have 2 more items, hopefully to be quick. At some point, I'd like to talk to our county staff with the board. I've had some residents approach me about our providing on our animal shelter page, animal abuse register. There's been various counties that have done that. I think it'd be advantageous for us to explore that, to look at what the pros and cons are legally. And I think that we should be looking at this so that if there are people that are legitimately registered abusers, that we should be not promoting them, but identifying what they are on our animal webpage. That's all. And I'd like to bring that back at a future item. Again, I will fill out the proper paperwork to do that.
Commissioner Constantine?
I was just going to say this board consistently has been strong advocate on anti-animal abuse, but specifically in referring to that, we were the first county in the state to request reports of abuse and injuries for greyhound dogs in greyhound racing. And so this would, I think, in my opinion, go right up the same position.
In fact, Commissioner Constantine, before that all happened, we actually did on our webpage at one point, it's not there now, but we did at one point put the dogs that were deemed to be dangerous. It's not there now. I don't know how that happened, but I wish that would go back. But if it's appropriate and legal to do the register for animal abusers, I think that should be up there as well. And I know other counties have done it.
So before we move on from that topic, I do want to go back and make sure that the record reflects that there was consensus for Commissioner Delari's administrative rezone that there were head nods. I don't think that we ever came back and said that, so that's for the clerk's office. On this topic, again, if you're planning to bring it back in the actual fashion of a future agenda item, I mean, I remember those dangerous dogs. I don't know if a wall of shame of animal abusers is what we want to do or not. I'll leave that to legal counsel if that's, I don't know.
I think at this point, it would be, what I'm understanding it to be would be for direction to staff to explore whether doing an animal abuse registration is feasible and what it would entail, and for them to come back and give you a report on that, and then make a determination whether you want to physically go through the actual steps to create it. Is that where you are?
That is correct.
I would support that.
Yeah. I'm good with that.
All right, so.
I want more information.
Yeah,
obviously.
so again, you're telling us ahead of time that you're going to be bringing a future agenda item.
That's correct. That's exactly what I'm doing. You're going to get the paperwork.
Okay,
I just would like to tell people what I'm doing ahead of time for full transparency purposes.
okay.
And then the last thing I have is, I know in the agenda item on the consent, we did approve the high water vehicle. And walking through the fire training facility, we have a lot of expensive vehicles that are out in the sun with no protective cover. This is just my observation. If we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on these high expensive vehicles, that we should be protecting them. And I'm looking for in the future, hopefully, that we are protecting these vehicles that are costing us hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're not just being beat up by Mother Nature and the sun. And I'm looking forward to the budget, because I think that that needs to be addressed to protect these vehicles so they're not prematurely weathered by Mother Nature. And with that, that is the end of my report, Madam Chairman.
Okay. District 2, Commissioner Zembauer.
Thank you. I'll be very short. For the most part, everything in District 2 is in perfect shape. I do want to take a moment and thank Florida Power for the work that they've been doing, not only before the hurricane, but responding so quickly during the hurricane events. But they're doing a pretty darn good job through District 2 of replacing all of the power poles. I understand they'll be completing work by the end of this year, so we appreciate that. That's always been a problem with hurricanes and keeping people's power on in the rural area, because we love our trees, and the trees are always in the lines. Also, flood recovery in District 2. Of course, as we all know, the river has receded. I have several constituents in District 2 that are in the application process of taking or attempting to take advantage of the purchase of the property program that's out there, which they understand it's not a quick turn, but just it'll eventually come before us as an item at some future point. But there are at least a handful that have applied for that through FEMA grants, and Mr. Harris would also be accommodating that. So just a heads up on what's going on there. Some of those people have decided they're not moving back into their residence. So that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
All right. I have nothing for my district report. For the chairman's report, I have a request from the Sharing Center for us to write a letter of support for a grant that they are applying for. There is no match required on the part of the county. It is purely just a letter of saying, hey, the Sharing Center is a great organization. We think you should give them some money.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, thank you. The other item that actually we started discussing it, I think last year during the legislative session, the legislature has approved and the governor has signed a law that allows local governments to do their public advertising, public noticing online, so that you don't have to pay to have it in print necessarily. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, the county boards are the ones who have been the designated entities in each county to be the deliverer for the other municipalities and school boards. So there's been some conversation when School Board Member Pennock was the chairman. She had asked us what our plans were. We had a little bit of conversation about this last year. There were some emails back and forth, but now the rubber's hitting the road, and we need to make a decision as a county if we are going to have this be something that we utilize, which would then give the cities and the school board the opportunity to advertise as well. I'm concerned that if we say we won't, we are preemptively saying that then the 7 cities and the school board do not have the ability either. Commissioner Zembauer.
Thank you. No, this is a topic I've brought up twice since the legislators, as this was passed and the governor signed it. In the last conversation that I was instructed, we didn't have the bandwidth, nor did we have the appropriate programs to be able to put that on the websites. It's my understanding that we are slowly getting there, so I would like a briefing on, do we have the bandwidth and do we have the technology to do that? Because the quick run that we made at it would save the taxpayers approximately $1.3 million if we were able to do it in-house.
Commissioner Herr? Okay.
So just a question, because I think this may have all been before me. Us saying that we will do it, does that prevent us from continuing to do it in print if we are lagging from a technology perspective? and then facilitate them to have choice to do it either way.
I don't believe it prevents us from advertising in paper. I'll leave the people who have looked at this to answer for sure, but I think it's giving us the option.
Freedom to do either.
Correct.
Right.
You could do both?
My
One or the other?
understanding, and this is not, this is secondhand because I have not talked to Brevard and Sarasota myself, but I have heard that both Brevard and Sarasota are moving forward. When I was at a FAC event this last week, Eric Poole, who's one of the administrators at FAC, said that he has it on his list of things to put out to all of the counties to find out, okay, what are the counties all doing? Who's in, who's out, why not? So that will be helpful information as well. But I think we just need to give our team direction as to what is our intent? Is it our intent to pursue it or not? And then let them act accordingly.
And I would think, I mean, I would very much like, I would support pursuing it, but I need to understand the cost to us to get up to speed of technology and the bandwidth to do that. I mean, if we've got to spend $10 million to get it done, that's a 10-year payback on the numbers I originally received. So I think the staff just needs to give us a report of what their thoughts are, I guess.
I think it's a two-step process. One is, yes, we should pursue moving forward so that we can create the freedom of choice for the other entities. And the second is what Commissioner Zembauer just referenced, is then we figure out how we proceed and at what pace that makes the most economic sense.
Okay. So is there consensus from the board to give staff direction to pursue that?
Yes.
Yes.
To report back to us what the total cost is.
The
Where we
two-step-
are.
the- Well,
Two-step.
our intent to provide the option to other local governments in Seminole County, and then to find out what the process would be and the cost would be for that. Right? And
And we're not committing, just for clarity, at this point, we're not committing to actually pursuing the notice electronically.
Right.
Correct.
Okay? It's, we're exploring the option for you to make a
Considering
decision
it.
at a later date. Because again, after this meeting, I'm probably going to get calls from all of the jurisdictions.
Well,
on
and
the
that's
school board.
fine.
Right.
And
So I
think,
just wanted to make that clear.
right, and I think, absent direction from the board, there's no direction, right? So we have to give you what our impression is and what our intent is, because it is a policy decision. And we have said many times that it is our goal to work collaboratively with the cities and the school board and to do as much as we can to help save the taxpayers in this county money. And if this does that, then we want to know that and then be able to make an informed decision.
So if I may, I just wanted to say, so we did some brief collaborative, we looked at to see how much we spent on advertising, and we don't spend, I think we spend less than $75,000 a year on advertising. When we looked into this, might require a person to do this, because we have to open up our website and we have to post all the cities, it has to go to our website. So there's going to be, there's coordination that all has to happen, as well as we have to be able to email back people when they have questions. There's a lot involved in this. So I think maybe a presentation might be a good idea.
And that's why.
Considering it is what we're trying to do.
We're trying to
So
give.
let's pursue it with, and I would say we
want all the
pursue it and we give staff the freedom to bring back to us what you think we need to know in order to make a good decision.
I think that's probably a good idea.
Isn't that what we just did?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I would say reach out to the 7 cities and the school board, get their input, what their desire is, where they are with technology, and where we're at with technology, because all I've received thus far on the 2 times I've brought it up is exactly what Melanie just said. May require another person, but I've not seen anything in hard writing that I can clamp onto and digest and dissect. And I think that's what we're asking for.
Right. And I would also add, mentioning the Florida Association of Counties, other counties are going to figure this out.
Oh, yeah.
And so we don't need to reinvent the wheel and figure it out on our own. If we know that Brevard and Sarasota have already figured out how they're going to do it, why don't we call them and ask them?
Well, I've been told that one of the programs that we've recently brought in, the Open Gov program, has already facilitated the ability to do that. Now, I don't know about the manpower and all that to get it done, but
All right, so there's consensus to ask the the county manager's office to pursue all of the information and bring it back to us.
And Madam Chair, I'll also make sure that Eric gets us all the information from
Great.
the Florida Association of Counties.
Fantastic, thank you.
With hard data, thank you.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And a timeframe on this that would be reasonable to bring it back?
Dare I say, can we wait for the new county manager?
Can we get a time?
Seems fair.
Can we agree to a time certain, 60, 90 days?
Let's see, 60 days? I mean, that should be reasonable.
Yeah,
So
I
60
think
days.
2 months is a good time frame to just bring back information. Okay. Future agenda items, unless there's anything else on district reports that we want to discuss.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I heard heard a motion in a second. I know there's a consensus on the sharing center, but did you want to make a vote, or did you just want to keep it as a consensus?
I'm content with a
Okay.
consensus.
All right, if no one, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make, because I heard a motion in a second.
did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Somebody else second.
Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I did not hear that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Constantine, your future agenda item is related to permitting fees for Katie's Landing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. I brought this, again, kind of like Commissioner Delory did, as a preliminary. You all asked for future information. I believe that you received on December 14th from Ms. Hammock information about the permit fees based on a $100,000 evaluation. I don't know if this is going to cost it, but what I just wanted to express is that the Friends of the Wekiva, and they're here today, and I'd rather them talk a little bit about this, are willing through, I think also an endowment from Katie Moncrief, which we all know very well. Katie's Landing has been a landmark here in Seminole County for many, many years. The Friends of the Wekiva on the Wekiva at Katie's Landing, which is now a state park, wish to build a pavilion at their cost, and all they were asking with this, a benefit, I believe, of the entire county, let alone the entire state, that we look at waiving the permitting fees, and which I think that Ms. Hammock has given us on December 14th, that would be around $1,000 approximately. But if you will, Madam Chair, allow Mr. Wilson and whoever else to speak on this, I would appreciate it. I think they filled out a card, did they not? If that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can introduce you and then let you take over. Hi. No, I'm Gray Wilson. I live at 5044 Shoreline Circle. I'm on the board of directors of the Friends of Wekiva, and this is Ouija, and Ouija has been a long-term member of the Friends of Wekiva River. We're here with good news. This is a gift that we are giving to the county through the park. Katie's Landing is a very popular site, oftentimes to launch kayaks and canoes. Scouts use it. It is a heavily used site, and we're very lucky to have it. I served at one time on the Natural Lands Committee, and there was a piece of property we were considering very near this, and one of the reasons we passed on it is because this property was already here. And so that allowed the county to spend that money somewhere else. This is a real gem. I think we're really lucky to have somebody like Katie Moncrief years ago with foresight to bring attention to the Wekiva River. If you have 5 minutes of your time and you can go on the Wild and Scenic site, there's a video on there giving you a brief history of what she did. And I wasn't aware of a lot of the journey that she took on that to bring that beautiful area to the attention of the residents. And you'll come out with a feeling that not only what a special lady she is, but quite courageous. It was very dangerous at times, the process that she went through, and it was an eye-opener. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ouija, who's going to give you a little bit of briefing about this, and I'm going to step back. Thank you.
Thank you for your consideration to this. And this is a picture of the building, the pavilion that we want to construct. And when we were thinking about it, we thought about what would be the uses for this. And if you've ever been out paddling on the river and you look at the weather and it says it's going to rain, you still want to go out there. And the shelter provides a place where if it starts raining and you've planned a picnic, you can still go ahead with your plans because it doesn't always rain. But it can also serve as an outdoor classroom, which could feature educating visitors to the sensitivity of this riparian habitat and encourage river stewardship on this in a low-impact way on this river. We're just hoping to be able to bring in students and have classrooms. We want to educate them on the people who lived there long ago. And it also would provide a place for big events like we've held a bio blitz at one time, and there are canoe and paddle races that are pretty large events that this would help accommodate. And it would be a wonderful place for family picnics and family reunions. But really, it's a place just to rejuvenate your spirit, and it would give you the security of, yeah, it might be a rainy day, but I can come there anyway. So, and it will inspire people to want to take care of our environment here in Seminole County. And thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. So what we're asking for is waiver of fees, and in return, and regardless, we're going to do it anyway. We think it's good. We're really, really proud to be in Seminole County, and we feel that this is part of what we do. This is part of our mission. It's all good stuff. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Zembauer and then Commissioner Delary.
And I understand what the request is to come back. I would be prepared to make a motion that we make a decision right now. I'd make the motion that we waive the permitting fee for this pavilion.
There's a motion.
Second.
There's a motion. Second. Commissioner Delary, under discussion?
Yes. Gray, what's the size of the pavilion?
Ouija?
The site of it?
No,
the size.
The dimensions.
It will be 24 by 44
Okay.
feet.
And will the,
Yards.
will it have a concrete pad, or is it just dirt?
It's going to be on a concrete pad, and the concrete pad will be 2 feet extending all the way around on it. Yeah. And the location has been determined.
That's fine. I'm fine with the location.
Yeah, we've been working with Dr. Robert Brooks, who's the park ranger, and to kind of help us narrow it down or widen it to what would typically fit in this area. So we've done a lot of legwork before we got to this point. So
great.
We are very excited to do this.
I have a question for the county attorney, if I may, Madam Chair. I fully support that the county should be a partner in this endeavor. The question that I have for the attorney is, should we waive fees or should we pay them? It gets to the same avenue, but there are 2 different approaches, and so I'd like to have your
These are statutory things we have to
If
get.
I'm understanding correctly, the fee waiver would be for the building permits specifically?
Correct.
Rebecca?
If you all would allow Ms. Hammock to walk up behind you and take the microphone, that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning again, Rebecca Hammock, Development Services Director. In this case, we'd probably also require a small site plan since it's non-residential construction. So it would be a waiver of the site plan fee, which would likely only be a $500 fee since it's a small site plan, and then the building permit fees. So the site plan fee would be from a general fund, and then the building permits are enterprise fund.
Okay, so my point is, are we waiving them or are we paying them?
For the general fund, I see no issue with waiving that, because again, it just goes back into the general fund. For the building, the enterprise fund, I think it's more prudent that the county pay for the general fund into the enterprise fund for that.
I just want to make sure that that's clear with the motion.
So I'll amend my motion that says the county will pay and waive fees associated with this project at Katie's Landing.
Seconder's okay with that.
And would you also make an amendment for the amounts?
Well, I think, are those hard amounts? I just don't want to tie up staff's time if it changes $50 or $100.
The site plan fee is a set amount, but the building permit fee is based on valuation of the project.
Right.
And so we were guesstimating based on, $100,000 valuation, so.
$100,000 value for a 44 by 24?
So that was the high end,
that was
so
the high
that
end.
they wouldn't
That's a real
have to
high
come
end.
back.
I wouldn't think so.
So we could use that number and
Yeah.
feel safe that
That's
we don't
fine.
have
And
to
it'll be
come
less.
back. So it could be a not to exceed.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Not to exceed $1,500 amendment. Is that going to cover it?
I think so,
Based on
yes.
your $100,000 value?
Yes.
Mr. Constantine?
thank you. Madam Chair, I just have one question about the permit fees base that you did, Rebecca. I saw that one of them was a state fee, the Department of Community Affairs. Is that now the department, is it just turned over to the Department of Environmental or Economic Opportunity?
DEO, yes.
Yeah, it just said Community Affairs, and that hasn't been in existence for 2 decades, so I just wanted to make sure that, okay.
Yeah, I think when that was put together, Sandy just accidentally referenced.
No problem.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that we're sending it to the right
Okay,
people.
I'm sure we'll do that. Is everyone, we've got a motion and a second. We've amended the motion. The seconder has agreed to it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and Rebecca, you keep coming back up here. We appreciate everything you've done and got us everything and more. So it's a pleasure working with you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Luigi.
Moving to public comment this morning that is not related to any agenda item. Do we have any comment forms, Ms. Peach? No? All right. Anyone holding a comment form? No? All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order of the board? No? All right. With that, we stand adjourned.